why would they make a weed beer without weed but smells and tastes just like weed?
In liquid form, that just doesn't seem,
It makes you cough, it makes your lungs hurt, but you don't get high, and it probably takes quite a few of these to get drunk. This is Sweetwater, which is a decent brewery. 420 strain, Mango Kush Wheat Ale. There's no mango flavor to this Kush. So, anybody wants to pick that up, I would say no. No, it doesn't have any hemp in it, but it smells so potent.
Yeah, what did they have to do to get that smell?
I don't know, man. Maybe it's a specific type of hops.
What's the the alcohol percentage on one of those?
Let me look. I might list it.
I say shouldn't it? Isn't that like law?
Oh god, it's a malt beverage, so there you go. It's 5%. About average for a beer. Oh man, that did fuck up my lungs. I don't know what's wrong with it. And it's got a dead fish on the... Is that just like a scaly fish body? Why would you want to drink that?
Oh.
It's like, this is dead fish water.
Yeah, well, you said it was mango, so you think they would have
It
mango.
doesn't taste like mango at all.
Does it taste like fish scales? With skeleton?
It smells like the fucking back of Snoop Dogg's tour bus. It just doesn't...
What about all of Snoop Dogg's tour bus?
All of it. Yeah, this literally just tastes like Willie Nelson's mustache. By the way, Willie Nelson had to quit smoking, I heard recently.
Yeah, something about...
health issues.
Yeah, but I think he just went straight to edibles.
Yeah, he's edible, man. I feel like if I was a user of the cannabinoids, I would probably just do the edibles. Because I have little girl lungs. When the weed beer is making me cough, of course it could be the wheat in there. It's probably just straight up gluten's fucking with me. I'm just one of those guys that has... all the people that fake gluten allergies, yeah. I'd probably be the guy that has the real gluten allergy and just refuses to acknowledge it.
Nothing but gluten. Just all the gluten.
Eating all the glutes, which is different from the gluteus. Because the kids today all eat ass, apparently. It's the first thing they do.
Yeah.
It's weird. Imagine you go on a first date with somebody. Now, in the old days, if you got a kiss, or even just even a kiss on the cheek, that was whoa, okay, this is pretty cool. But now it's hey, let's do some ass eating. Yeah. First date. It's
well, do you remember when you were real young and you first started and just the hug?
Yeah,
just the embrace. That was something to look for.
The fact that somebody that you may or may not be attracted to, but is of the sex you prefer, is touching you.
Yeah,
it's whoa, whoa, shit. And you know what else is weird? These broke bitches today. I'm not talking about the ladies. I'm talking about whoever the broke bitches that set this date up. Their date's just hey, you want to just watch a movie on my couch? Which is fine, but that's not a first date move. Whatever happened to wine and dining?
That's definitely not a first date move that is followed by ass eating. If you were going to have some chick munch down on your brown hole, I think the least you could do...
Take her to a fine Italian restaurant.
Something. Oh, maybe that would be a mistake. You definitely wouldn't want to go out for Mexican.
Yeah, but staying at home eating a whole bag of pizza rolls isn't the movie either.
No, that's true.
Going to a Mexican restaurant is probably Taco Bell. That would be for these broke young kids. But you know what? I also get it though. These cheap ass dates, because I'm a man of sophistication. I'll take my lady to a pleasure land for the mouth. I don't know. That sounded gross. But I was about
to bring up the last place I know that you guys went to eat.
Don't worry about it. But we go to restaurants. That's the thing. But I understand because say I don't know what it's like to be 22 years old in the United States right now. But if I was and I worked at probably what a job a 22-year-old would be 22-year-old Caleb making $1 more than minimum wage. Yeah. McDonald's fucking meal from McDonald's costs more than that. So
I'm just surprised that kids nowadays are even dating. I thought they all just had all the different Tinders and Grinders and hoagie apps, and you just gotta swipe left or right, whatever.
I feel Grindr's missing the boat if it's not also used as a hoagie app. Well, that'd be hoagie and Grinders probably. Meet up fucking random dudes for, hey, that was a Family Guy thing, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, whenever...
He had a Grindr app, but it wasn't for gay guys, it was for finding sandwiches.
Yeah, and they just stuck a sandwich through the glue.
See, that's brilliant. A lot of things pass off as brilliant. Oh, God, my fucking lungs, dude. You know what? I'll just end on this. I think the youth of today, a little less ass-eating, a little more romance.
Yeah.
And by romance, I don't mean just like, hey, you want to go to McDonald's and maybe we can sneak in the movies? No, you're in your 20s. Like, go to a fucking restaurant.
Yeah.
Or something. I mean, I guess just enjoy each other. Like, whatever happened to Lover's Lane? Was it not like Ass Muncher's Lane? Fucking Brown Star Liquors? Boulevard? I don't know what I'm saying. We're done with this. This is a bad cold open. Why do we do this to ourselves?
I didn't know we were recording it first.
Just 5 minutes. I think, yeah, we've been recording this whole time. I mean, we usually just kind of cut out all this nonsense, but you know what? It's staying because it's a drunken BS episode, and I've been drinking some Kush Ale, and you've been sipping a Hennessy, straight, whole bottle, gallon. I could, you know what I could start doing? Because usually, depending on the episode and the day, you're usually not drinking something crazy. And usually if you are, it's because I gave it to you or made it for you. But I could just say you are, and nobody would know.
Nope, yeah, nobody would know.
Spencer's over here drinking straight Ciroc. Or is that the P. Diddy drink? I don't know. What's an expensive booze? He got the fucking Remy Martin 1812 over here or something. Just say you're just drinking the fanciest of beverages.
Yeah, we could.
Gucci, Gucci, Gucci. Hey there, party people. This is the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb James. With me, as always, Spencer, the Texas Turkey Toucher Church. I don't know what that means. I just came up with it, but it works. It's getting harder.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Not the city names, like the finding things that go along with it. Because without, I try to keep the alliteration to like the straight first letter. I couldn't be like, the Texas Turkey Fornicator. Yeah. Because in the F, that breaks it up. I try to keep it consistent. And that's still like the Nashville Nutter. Was that our winning one? I think it was. I
think so, yeah.
If it wasn't, it should have been. Because that was a good one. Today, we are talking about a bunch of nothing. But we do got news for people who've seen on the old interwebs. We are doing... you know what? We'll have the conversation now. Yeah. I forgot when I came up with the idea to do the BookCast episodes where we cover a book. Me and Ash did that before with the House of Leaves, but that was the Inebriated Reading Challenge, the IRCs. Yeah. I didn't realize. For some reason, I thought I called them BookCast, but I'm thinking it should be separate because we could still do the Inebriated Reading Challenges with like weird books and difficult books, and then a BookCast could just be what we're doing with the Conan book, like a more respectable, something we could talk about without just shitting on it the whole time. Yeah. So that's what we're going to get into. BookCast episodes we are doing coming of Conan the Cimmerian?
Yes.
Yes, he's coming. And he's coming hard and fast. And he's coming to the DPW podcast. Oh, did I already forget that guy's name? Was it Robert E. Howard?
Yeah, Robert E.
Robert E. Howard. If you look up that man's pictures, he was a fucking cool guy.
Yeah. Which is weird whenever you go into like the history of him, because apparently he was like very like a tortured like individual, and like eventually ended up taking his own life and stuff like that.
I figure we'll do an episode dedicated to him right before we start,
probably
just to go through it. And I didn't want to say nothing, but when I was going through the whole Conan, I watched a couple videos just to see like what people thought of the book. Yeah. What is it? The first 17 stories of Conan?
It's the first 13, I think. I think whenever I was trying to look him up, I think like Howard wrote 17 Conan stories. There's the first 13 in the book, and then like after that, a whole bunch of people wrote Conan stories after that.
Well, this edition we have, it has like first drafts or something.
Yeah,
it's like some other stuff.
Yeah, some extra stuff in the back.
And I think like maybe non-completed stories or something. Yeah. So we'll probably do an episode just solely on those. Yeah. It won't be related to because I figure we'll do a couple stories per episode.
Yeah, because they only seem to be like 20, 30 pages long.
Yeah, I like that. But anyway, like I said, I didn't really want to have to bring it up. But from the reviews I saw, and we haven't read it yet, so I can't judge. And obviously, you have to remember, folks, the time period. This was in the 30s. Apparently, all the villains and the people Conan kills are kind of black.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes with the time frame of how they thought about racial, like the differences in races and stuff. But it seems from what I understand, like it was just the videos I watched, so I haven't read it yet. So I don't know if it's just actual black people that are represented as the villains and stuff, or if it's just monsters with black skin and things like that, which would go more the H.P. Lovecraft route.
And which you also got to figure in, like, where the story takes place. It's like
a fantasy,
more jungle-y, like, you know.
Well, I think
because it's not like Conan's a white guy. You know, it's not like he's a white guy murdering a whole bunch of, you know.
True. I think the contention was just that it was, you know, any people of color or monsters of color or whatever it is of color were the ones getting murdered and slaughtered and all that stuff, or were just portrayed as the evil, rapey, pillaging monsters. So, like I said, we'll see. We'll dive in. From what I've read, just like skipping through reading a couple things and stuff, I really like the verb usage of, you know, it's not just that he cut someone in half, he cleaved them in half, or he, you know, jamming.
Yeah, drove through the blade to his
slashing and breaking the bones with the hammers. And like, it's going to be awesome, I think. I'm actually looking forward to this because I need a break of some of the fucking literature that I've been reading. I am slogging through Runaway Horses by Yukio Mishima. It started off good, and then he decided for whatever reason while writing this book that he was going to introduce a separate book in it. Like the character gives another character a historical book, and then he just reads the whole book. Like, so you read that whole historical book, and it's just like, this has nothing to do. Oh, God, this is killing me. It's literally, you have to get to like page 130 before the story like really kicks off. And then even then, I'm just kind of like,
At that point, you're just like, I'm over it.
There's only a small section of the story I care about, and that's the part that he's not talking about that much, so...
Well, that's like, Stephen King did something like that in the Dark Tower series. It was like either like the third or fourth book, he had like this scene going on where like the main characters are dealing with like this out of control magic like subway like train thing, and to like get out you had to answer these riddles.
Right.
And like I think it was like the third book ended on this big cliffhanger, and then the fourth book picks up like right almost where it goes off, but then like something happens and Randall, the main character Randall, tells all the other characters his backstory, which is basically the whole length of that book, and then like ends basically like, you know, just where they left off. Like, I mean, it's cool, you know, or something that we really needed to know the backstory. It was just the placement of it was really weird, and it was fine for me because like I finished that book and then I just went on to the next one, but like there was like a huge gap in between those books when they were originally published.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd feel about that one. So what are you currently reading at the time?
Well,
you just finished some H.P. Lovecraft, so I didn't know if you were gonna pause and...
Yeah, since I just finished the Call of Cthulhu,
right?
Which I liked.
Well, how many pages was? I mean, in the editions, there are different lengths, but how many pages was that roughly? I remember it wasn't that long, but it seemed like it was long.
It was 3 chapters. Each chapter had like anywhere like 30 to 45 minutes, you know, like read time on it. Mm-hmm. You know, I read it mostly at work, so like I had that to deal with. But I mean, I went through it pretty quickly. I stopped because I forget the name of it. But it's another one of his longer ones that has like
the Dunwich Horror.
Yeah. So since that one had, you know, seemed like it was gonna be a little bit longer, and I knew he was getting ready to start the Conan thing, I was like, well, let me just double back, like put that off to the side for now, and because I got a whole bunch of trades and stuff for Christmas, so I was like, let me try to work through some of this stuff.
I'm curious to see what order your collection is, because the one I have is, I think, in order. I don't think it's in order of publishing. I think it's in like the chronological order of the stories, like where they're supposed to fall. Because I remember reading a lot of really short stories before I got to the longer ones. Like the Necronomicon was only like 2 pages and like certain things like that. So I'm wondering if yours just kind of skips around. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah. If I think about it, when next time I come over, I'll bring it with me and
right.
I'll let you look through it. Oh, I'm 7% through. 7% through.
That is one good thing about the Kindle. It feels like I don't know, just having the number though, it just makes it seem like okay, I could push through. Like sometimes you'll be like, oh man, I'm only on 73%. I might as well just get to 75 before the night's over. Whereas a book, you just I usually go chapter by chapter.
Yeah.
Man. What about the whole writing game? You still doing that?
Well, you know.
My productivity as of this past week is just tanked. I haven't written anything.
See, I've written a little bit, not a whole bunch, and probably like the past 2 to 3 days, I've probably only written maybe 600 words. Like I was telling you before the show on my current work in progress, that put it over the 1,000 word mark. Which do you ever feel like sometimes once you get past a certain word count, you sometimes that helps you get into the story a little bit more? Do you ever get that? I broke this nut, now I can
For me, it's more just about consistency that gets me into it. For instance, if I sit down and I write 500 words, 1,000 words, I might not be into it yet. If I do that throughout a couple days, that's when I get into it. Because I could write 5,000 words in one sitting, and I'm still not really into it, in the zone, just because, I guess it's just because it's one sitting. I feel like I have to write, multiple days in a row before I really get it. Sometimes, though, usually, a short story, if I do hit, 1,000 or 1,500 words, I feel more comfortable with it, and I do feel like maybe it does get a little easier, because now I have more of a direction of where I'm going. And also, just because, my article writing days, that was always, the limit.
Yeah.
They wanted, most magazines only wanted, at most, 1,500 words. So once I hit that, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's normally my finishing point. So now I'm kind of hitting my stride. It feels good to do that. And sometimes I just like to see that number.
Yeah.
When you're you know what I like? I don't know if you've had this happen recently. When you're writing, you're like, oh, man, I probably got 1,000 words in. And it's 2,500 or 3,000. You're like, holy shit. That was a little bit more productive than I thought. That's always a good feeling.
But I kind of set the almost that 1,000 words kind of has the bare bones of the little story that I'm working on, and then I gotta jazz it up a little bit more, throw some meat on the bone.
Right, meat and then the skin and the organs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I just need to write it. I got 3 separate stories going on. I'm not working on any of them.
That's maybe part of the problem. A lot of spinning plates.
Yep, a lot of spinning plates, and I'm not attending to any of them. I don't know. I can't really say work had anything to do with me not doing anything over the weekend. It just kind of feels like, again, the burnout, but I've been doing other stuff too, so it's not like I'm completely useless here. I've been thinking maybe I should just do a nonfiction piece. Just kind of I think that might be it too, is we've been doing fiction so long as of late. I haven't written any kind of articles or anything like that. And that kind of, other than our write-ups for Wizard World, those are really the last things that were nonfiction that we did. And that kind of, that break, it's almost like sometimes you just need to read a nonfiction book.
Yeah.
Just okay, I need to reset myself here. I was thinking maybe doing a write-up on Dirk Manning or something.
Yeah.
That could be cool.
Yeah.
If I feel the gumption to do that. And then that way, when we talk to him in February, we'll be like, hey, man, look, we got this fancy write-up on you, and maybe you should give us money. And then beat him up and steal his wallet. I'd rather steal his customer base.
Yes.
Get more money that way.
His work ethic and gumption and gung-ho.
Yeah. Yeah, the work ethic thing. I just wish I could have a fucking... a hotel room or something once every couple weeks. I could just sit there locked in with no electronics.
I can see that now. The missus thinks something's going on because she's seen
thinking I'm cheating.
Yeah, and no, honey, I'm just writing.
Why are you at the Motel 6 3 times this month? Why are you there at all? Like, I'm writing, baby, I'm writing. Sure, it was that hussy again. What hussy? I don't know, man. I don't know what to do with my life anymore. Spiraling in a downward depression of out of control. No, not really. I just want to, I think drugs too might help. You start doing like mushrooms or something.
I mean, I probably couldn't hurt.
I mean, it could if you don't do it right. I feel like we need a spark. Well, maybe not you, but I need some kind of spark. Some of this, get my It's this time of year too. This fucking time of year sucks. Everything's dark. Everything stinks. Can't go anywhere. Can't do anything fun.
It seems like we do have a better quantity output during like non-winter months. Like,
you're getting vitamin D and stuff. It makes your brain function better. Go out in the goddamn sun once in a while. I think Ash said he was having some troubles writing lately too. He's not feeling the muse. I'm not much of a muse writer myself. I can make myself write. That's what pisses me off. I could, if I just sat there like tonight, I could just be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna finish this whole story. I could, but it's just like, it's like when you're sitting on the couch and you're like, man, I got like 8 episodes of this TV show I really want to watch, but I just don't feel like turning on the TV. I'm just gonna watch YouTube videos and look at Facebook 50 times that there's nothing on there interesting, and then I'm just gonna get irritated. I do that every weekend. It's like, I could be watching this, and then I don't watch anything.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it fucking sucks.
I'm just sitting there not doing anything, and I brought the laptop out. It's right there.
And you don't...
I literally just have to put it onto my lap and turn it on, and I'm just like,
I did that last night. I got the laptop out, opened up the Google Docs, and I was sitting there, and I was like, all right, I'm going to get to writing. But I should probably check the Podbean numbers first, see how the podcast is doing.
Well, at least that you can disguise it when you were doing stuff for the thing. I think I ended up reading like some comics or something. I think so it wasn't even like anything productive. I might have just fell asleep, honestly.
Yeah, I don't like the way John Cena's looking at me right now.
What do you mean?
It's too bad the fans can't see this at home. Well, this John Cena lunchbox is just saluting me the whole time.
He's been saluting me too.
Oh, yeah, he's on both sides. I posted this on Instagram, I think. I don't think I put on the DPW one, though. This is a sweet-ass lunchbox.
It is. That's going to every convention from now on. You know that,
right? Let's wait till we get a proper studio that's going... Yeah, I just take that around like... La, 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 la. Probably get my shit beat out of me by security. They think I'm, like, smuggling something in. No grown man would have that. How'd you see me? Hold it in front of your face. Oh, well. Anyway, back to Conan, the barbarian / Cimmerian. What are you most excited? What do you think you'll get out of this whole dive besides just some fun tales? I'm more interested in the writing style, personally.
Yeah, and just, like, again, with, like, a lot of things, I've seen Conan movies, or, like, you know, he's been in comics, and, like, or just, like, other takes on, like, the character, but, like, never checking out the original thing of it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm kind of looking forward to that, to see just, like, how that kind of stuff is, you know?
Well, neither of us ever really got into reading what you'd call, like, fantasy adventure.
Yeah.
For the sword and sorcery, which Conan's the original of the sword and sorcery genre.
Yeah, which I didn't, like, I was kind of surprised. Like, I didn't figure there was probably, if there wouldn't be much before that, but I didn't know, like, he was, like, the first thing, you know, to ever do that kind of thing. And the thing, we wouldn't have Game of Thrones without Conan.
Without the Conan. I was thinking of Conan from WCW wrestling back in the 90s. The big buff Mexican guy is like, ooh, nah, nah.
As long as you're not thinking of Conan.
Conan O'Brien?
Yeah.
Who would name their kid Conan? That's a weird one. There's my only fear of going into this is that this turns out to be like when I read Frankenstein or what's the other one? The Sleepy Hollow. When I read the originals after it being out so long that you know the iterations of it, and you're like, oh yeah, it's a cool story. But then when you read the original, like, this is kind of fucking boring.
Yeah, because you kind of already know.
Yeah, of course this wasn't written in the 1800s, so this should be more entertaining. And plus, this was for pulp magazines, which those stories are always fun.
Yeah,
because a lot of them were aimed at like kids and younger people. So I'm pretty. Then again, so is H.P. Lovecraft, and some of his stuff can be a little dry.
Yeah. And then too, I'm wondering like if would start like catching things and be like, oh, that's where like where other artists down the line, used like, oh, okay, well, that's where that kind of started from. Like kind of almost like with the couple stories that I've read of H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah,
like you kind of start seeing like the influences like that's had later on, in storytelling.
I will say this: the imagery in Cthulhu was awesome.
Oh yeah,
like when they were on that thing in the water, it was like some kind of black. Like the way he describes it is really fucking cool. He does that in Mountains of Madness too, where they're in Antarctica and they found like an alien temple or some shit underground. It's a really dry, kind of boring story, but the imagery is awesome. That's what H.P. Lovecraft seems to have a problem with in his work.
Describing stuff is great.
Yeah, like moving the imagery,
moving the story along.
It's like, dude,
not so much. Because, like, the color of space.
Color out of space?
Yeah, that was just kind of, like... That seemed kind of long and just, like...
drawn out. See, again, my edition started with the very short pieces, a couple-page stories here and there, which was his early works. And even though some of them are a little tough to read... Well, by the time you got to the bigger stories, you were more acclimated to his style. You just jumped right in.
Well, I wanted to jump right in with that one because we were talking about whenever the movie comes out, so I wanted to make sure.
But how much of that movie are you gonna like? How much of that story are you gonna remember or understand when you see the movie? Like, it's because when I think back on it, I'm like, what the fuck was that about again? Because it's tough.
Some asteroid that like dissolved things.
Yeah,
they got near it.
Everything
and made people go crazy.
And that's where all the flora turned crazy colors, right?
Yeah, like all like the ground by where it landed, and like all.
And like I remember his description.
The cows were going weird and stuff.
I remember his descriptions of like the upstairs. Like I think it was like his wife or something locked in the room. Yeah, because his kids and family were like going crazy. Nicolas Cage is gonna fucking kill that. Oh,
I can't remember from the trailer. Did it look like it was gonna be more modern?
It's modern, but it's still gonna be wild.
Oh yeah, I just was wondering could you imagine if they did a period piece, Nicolas Cage like, doing all that shit?
I don't know if the world can handle that.
Which I'm most interested to see about because I keep on hearing about how they're doing an H.P. Lovecraft like a trilogy thing, and I wonder if it's going to be based off of any certain books or if they're just going to pull things and, like, just use every kind of, to kind of make a different story that's not necessarily, like, his story, but kind of, like, based off of his, his material.
There's only, like, maybe 3 real stories of his, like, the longer story. 4. There's 4 stories of his that I feel they could really make a movie out of that wouldn't, because a lot of... like they always say, the problem with H.P. Lovecraft, it's so hard to adapt to film because you usually don't actually see the monster necessarily, or he describes the geometry of buildings and the monsters as something a human can, like it always just, like the guy's brain always like explodes. It's always like whoever sees it, they just go mad because they can't understand it. You can't fucking show that, obviously.
Well, that's just like in the last story, like the color.
Yeah,
like
they can't describe it. But... like, if you were going to adapt his work, I think the 4 things you could make movies off of would be, because, like, you could do a Cthulhu, but it would have to be, like, just a monster movie. You're not going to do, like, how the Call of Cthulhu, he was kind of mysterious. Like, if you actually, someone was like, hey, make a movie off of this story exactly, you'd be like, how?
Yeah.
But, The Color Out of Space, maybe the Dunwich Horror. The Dunwich Horror, from what I remember, was kind of wacky, but, The Color Out of Space, I think it's called The Witcher House or The Witch House, something like that. That one probably. The Shadow over Innsmouth would be really good because it's about a guy who goes to this a town pretty much full of fish monsters, but they kind of look like human because they're humans who are going to like kind of turn into fish. They want to be fish monsters.
Okay.
The old ones who live in because it's like a bay city and like in Boston kind of area, and the old ones want them or converted into fish monsters or somebody fucked a fish monster. It's really wacky, but it's one of those ones like things are described that you can actually put on film, and like this guy has to escape this town and everybody's like, oh, fucking creepy. You'd like that one.
Yeah.
The Mountains of Madness, which Guillermo del Toro already has the screenplay for it and everything. Just they wouldn't let him make it because it's rated R. It's like, come on. Fuckers, idiots.
This really is like an H.P. Lovecraft. Like, I mean, that makes sense that it would be like...
I mean, what does it matter? And then, what did I say? There was 4.
What about the Reanimator? Because that's been made into like movies and stuff. Would you not?
I
haven't read that one yet, so I don't know.
If I remember, I think that's the one where it's like a guy in a museum, and I don't remember if that one's the one with the alien, or I'm not sure if I remember that one. I think it'd just be like reanimating a corpse or something. But I thought it had to do something with I think they all had to do with aliens.
Yeah.
I forget what the other one was, but yeah, he has. Like, again, I was going with the longer stories too, like ones that were like novellas, or I mean, the way he writes them, it could goddamn well be novels. But you see the problem with H.P. Lovecraft, because when you read his work, you're like, oh, if he just like cut out all this nonsense right here, and here, and just had the actual story condensed into the cool shit, it'd be fine. But he likes to. Have you gotten to any of the yokel speak yet? That's what kills me. When one of the protagonists talked to some fucking backwoods people, you can barely understand what he's saying. Like the yokels, they're just you're like, oh god.
They're reading his stuff. It had me like interested in, like, I kind of was thinking, like, I wondered, like, if he lived a little bit longer, like if he didn't die so young and like made it to like the 60s. Like, imagine, like, what kind of stories he could have came up with.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Because, like, all that
stuff... The UFO takeoff.
Yeah, and just, like, because, like, all the stuff that he was coming up with was, like, technology was nowhere near, So imagine, like, with all this new stuff coming in, if he made it a little bit longer, like, just the kind of ideas and, like, weird shit he would come up with.
It would be pretty neat. But his monsters were always so fucking weird. They're always just like tentacle things with like just undescribable tentacle things. But I feel like that was also kind of lazy on his part, because everything was indescribable, and the person who saw it always just went mad.
Yeah,
it's like this every story. The person went mad. Things were indescribable. Human mind couldn't understand it. A geometry that nobody could ever understand. And I was like, well, that's cool, but I can't picture it because I can't understand. I don't want to go mad. I can't understand it. And another problem with his work that it's like probably the main thing that always just pissed me off about the Lovecraft stuff. The fucking like protagonist just drattling and blah 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 just about like some nonsense. Like he'll go into fucking like this made up. It's his lore, I get it, but I forget what story it was. But there's one about like these cult members or something, and this guy, he finds objects and stuff, but he just goes on and on and on about like the history of some item or something. I'm like, I don't. Even the Call of Cthulhu, I think that was like the boating stuff or something, didn't it?
Yeah, I think that was most of like the second chapter was like the boating.
I was like, oh, come on, man, just get to the monster.
Well, and like I've noticed because, and like I don't know maybe why I would have thought this, but like going into like H.P. Lovecraft, I was expecting some like murder. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't think there's a lot of murder.
No, and it's like always like the protagonist. It somehow goes through and like witnesses this crazy thing and makes it out somehow.
And I don't know if he has any stories that aren't in first person that I remember. I think they're almost all in first person.
And that's the thing. We've talked about this before. Like sometimes it's like he's like writing a letter, or sometimes it's hard to tell if he's talking. And then like whenever he is like he's telling a story, but then
he'll switch off. Like there's one story I remember reading where at least half the story was in letters, and I think they were separate. Like, there was one guy writing letters, and then, like, I think his son or somebody was writing letters, and then it would go into the actual story, but it was all first person. And I don't know if he just couldn't write in another way or what, but you can't write in third person here, guy? I mean, come on. Edgar Allan Poe was your inspiration to be a writer. Take some cues, man. You knew how to tell a story.
Doubling back on the guy we're supposed to be talking about.
Robert D. Howard.
Yeah, Robert D. Howard. I'm interested to see like if after this, to check out some of his other what's his one guy, like Solomon Kane or something like that.
I forget. I know what you're talking about because I looked up his other characters.
And then like the Kroll, like Kull, and like he's like kind of think he's supposed to kind of be like another kind of like Conan guy. But again, like I've seen all these different characters like in comics and stuff before because people buy the rights and stuff like that. So like I'm interested in like if once I get done with Conan, if it will be enough to make me want to try out the other stuff. Cause like I thought all he really did, like I know he did those other characters, but I thought he was mainly just like Conan. But it turned out like he wrote like a good amount of shit. So
he was very, very prolific. I did hear that some of the Conan stories suck ass in this collection because he wrote them so fast. Because he was right, like H.P. Lovecraft's problem. He wrote for pulp magazines.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you're surviving off of making money off of pulp magazines, that's like us trying to push out a big story every week.
Yeah.
That's kind of rough to do.
I mean, which might have been some of the reasons why, like, H.P. Lovecraft stories kind of explain, like, the thing, or, like, hey, this will cut me out, like, 5 paragraphs if I just say it's undescribable. Like, I don't have to try to describe it.
Plus, if he's writing a serial piece, that's why he goes along with the history so much and stuff. He's like, okay, I can extend this for 6 issues, you know.
Getting paid.
Getting paid, son. Making it rain. 50-cent pieces.
Making it hell.
Making $1 a month. Because it's depression era. It sucks out there. Ooh.
Yeah, but it looked like Howard did like a good, like had another guy who did a crazy amount of work in like a really short amount of time that just kind of when you look at it makes you feel shitty about the output you put in.
Well, yeah. Quentin Tarantino did that for me recently because I was reading his writing process, which is he buys a notebook and he just fills the whole notebook. He just writes a whole screenplay in that one notebook and he won't use another one. He won't, he just writes the whole thing out and I'm just like, I can't even, I don't want to do any of that.
Though, I feel like when it comes to screenplays, I think might be a little bit easier because it's not like he's writing the script. Because, isn't, screenplays a lot of, scene opens up, so-and-so's here with... And now, granted, it's him, so it's going to have a lot more... It's going to be very Tarantino-like, in his writing style, but I've always heard, screenplays are very, simplistic,
No, not really. They're more I mean, it's pretty close to a novel versus the actual script because the screenplay, like you said, it opens up with. But then, if you ever read when a screenplay wins a best Oscar, whatever, if you read it, it just looks like each page looks like the page of a novel for the most part. Okay. It's these huge chunks of he walks in and the shit because they get their writing on. So it's a little more than that. The script is when they condense it down and stuff, I think, but. You're just thinking the dialogue part for
maybe that's what all I've seen.
Yeah, because even if you go into Alan Moore style comic book scripts, those are fucking. It's a lot.
I'd hate to be an artist that he worked with. Yeah. Oh man, I'd be like, fuck you and your 9 panels. Every goddamn page.
Robert E. Howard also inspired somebody we were just talking about for the last couple weeks. Mr. Moorcock, Michael Moorcock. Yeah. He apparently inspired him to get into fantasy. And I was talking, we were talking about doing the Elric of Molybdene, so maybe that'll be our next fantasy series if this turns out well.
Next thing you know, guys, we're just going to be huge fantasy writers and fantasy freaks.
Either that or we just hate the genre so much, we're like, this sucks. And then we just sit there reading, hating, and we go through, it's like, did you finish the last Conan story? Fuck no! I didn't like it. I didn't like any of it. I quit after... I did read the introductions, and that was alright.
I was going to ask you if we were going to read... If, the introduction...
The introduction's not very long. There's a prologue and an introduction. Not a prologue. What's the thing? A foreword.
Yeah.
There's a foreword and an introduction. I didn't read the introduction. I read the foreword. The introduction is... who the fuck did that? Some French guy, I think, or something. I don't know. He had a weird name. But the artist, the guy who did the illustrations, he did the foreword. And that was actually pretty, entertaining. It's only a couple pages. I'm excited.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Got me all horned up. Anyway, I think that's enough talk for now. DPW. We could hire somebody to do a catchy jingle for us.
We could do a lot of things.
DPW, drinking and boozing and getting our horn on. Blusters in the morning.
So when do we think we're gonna start this BookCast?
Well, on the official announcement that you didn't read, I said next week.
Okay.
But it depends when fucking Ashley buys the book. Well, he said he's gonna try to get it at the library. I was like, just go to Barnes & Noble, dude. Fork over the old $15 or whatever it is. It's a good edition.
Yeah.
Regardless of if he gets it or not, if he's listening to this, fuck starting without you, man, if you don't pick it up.
You just have to read a whole bunch to get caught up.
Yeah, you get butt munch. All right. Well. Oh, you know what I did? I want to give a shout out to our listeners in Australia, man.
Again? Yeah?
Well, no.
I like it.
Not because of their listening, because their fucking whole country's on fire.
Oh, yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's rough.
No, we dropped off a couple listeners, and I understand why.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got a lot more important shit to do.
Yeah, so, if you could, any folks out there can find some of those fancy old websites and charities that are donating for the bushfires, please do, because it sucks out there right now.
I can't remember the name of it now, but I was just listening to a podcast today, and I'm sure if you do a quick search on it, you could probably find it. But there's this lady who, every $10 you donate,
the Instagram porn lady,
yeah,
they shut her down.
But I think you can still go to her website. And
she made over $1 million for the bushfires. $10 a pop.
Yeah,
she said she can't keep up, and I believe it. That's a lot of nudes.
Yeah.
Oh man, lady. But yeah.
I mean, if that's what you need to donate to these people,
do it, please. Yeah, I mean that's a worthwhile cause anyway. But you're gonna see the nudes anyway. Spend $10. Give it to. Some parts though have gotten rain finally.
Oh, good.
So thank goodness for that. But yeah, because we had a good steady listenership pretty much around the continent. Because I don't think there's anything in the middle of the continent. No. But
death is there.
But I noticed, because I looked at the numbers last night, and there's a significant drop off in our listeners, and it was in all the areas where the fires are. So I'm like, oh fuck, man, yeah, they got a lot to worry about. I'm sure. So keep your heads up, guys. That's tough. We had our country on fire for California for a while, and Canada I think had some awful fires recently too, but nobody really talked about that for some reason. Probably because
they were probably too late. They didn't let people worry about it. We'll think about it.
We'll think about it. Actually, Canada also shout out to them because they just sent a bunch of people over to help in Australia. So that's good. So while our country's just bombing shit, they're actually helping out. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
If you folks want to check us out, you can go to drunkenpenwriting.com. Hit us up on the old Twitter at drunkpenwriting. And you can go on the Instagram, and we're at drunkenpenwriting on the Instagram. And Spencer, he likes to post pictures of his chest hair on there. Don't believe me? It's in the stories. You got to check. They're very limited. They're like Snapchat stories. They only last 5 seconds. So if you want to see that chest pubes, check it out.
It's the right amount. There's not a whole bunch, but there's not a little. There's the right amount.
I don't think that's selling it very well. I don't think they're going to like that. We need a lady on the podcast. Been saying that for years now. At least 6 years we've been on air. We've been on air for 6 years.
I don't think
7.
So. No.
-2.
Maybe. That seems more accurate.
Just over a year, maybe. No, we haven't not even a year. We haven't got billed yet, so we haven't had to renew our thing. It's in February. Holy shit. Also, you can hit us up on the Facebook and yell at us at Drunken Pen Writing. Thank you for listening, and you stay classy, world.
Bye.